Welcome back, friends, to Dennis Simplifies. In today's video, we are going to go to the episode 3, which is implementing the Firebase authentication into our app, which is the Facebook clone. Alright, so friends, you're going to go straight and then implement the Facebook clone to where we are now. So in our previous video, we went through building about the login screen and then building the register screen. So here is where we have the login screen, okay? And then when you say create new account, we move to the register screen where the user is able to create an account here. So you can see that over here, the arrow that we have over here is quite too close to the edge of the screen, right? So we're going to give it a little pattern of 3 to move the arrow a little to to the right, okay? So let's go to the register screen here and then give this arrow here a little pattern, right, so that it becomes a little far away from the edge. You can see style, course, then take. They give a pattern of 4, right? Then control save. So when we save it and then it refreshes, you can see that the arrow will move to the right. So now let's move to the main thing we are here to do today, which is to implement the Firebase into our app, okay? Alright, so there you see it. Now it worked. You can see it over here after I refreshed, okay? Nice. So now let's move to implement the Firebase into our app. What we want to ensure is that anytime the user logs in, the user should be an authenticated user, okay? So when you hit on this button, you should be an authenticated user. You should be somebody who actually uses this app. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the Firebase website. So you just go to Google and type in Firebase, and then you click on the link to get to their website. Now on their website, what you're going to do is that you're going to create an app over there. So say make your app the best it can be. So you go to get started. So you click on yes. This is the Firebase official website. I'll put a link down in the description. So get started. Alright. So it's going to load, and then after that, the next thing we'll be doing is that we want to configure our app. We want to link the Firebase to our app, okay? So we want the user to be an authenticated user. So if you are actually logging into the app, you should be somebody who is authenticated, right? So that's what you're going to be doing today. So what you're going to do, you can see that I have created some projects here: Facebook clone, CS, Edu Social project. So what you're going to do, you're going to click on this add project, okay? So you click here, add project. Then you give a name to your project. So let's give it any name. You can say Facebook, YouTube, okay? Right, and then you go to continue. Right, then over here you untick this button here, right? Then you go to create project. So it's going to create your project here for you. I need a change in my life because I don't feel alive and there's nothing that makes me happy. Hold my beer for a minute. So it's finishing up with the Facebook YouTube, that is Facebook clone that we are building right now. Alright, so you can see that our new project is ready. So you go to continue. Okay. Alright, so now you can see that we have created this our project here, Facebook YouTube, like the Facebook clone for YouTube. So now you can see this tag over here for web, right? So you click on the web. Okay, so now you can give a name for it. We can maintain the same name, Facebook Tube. Okay, so you can yeah, alright, and then you go to register app. Alright, so you can see that now that we have generated a certain config. So what you're going to do here is that you copy this code over here, right? You copy it, then you go to your Visual Studio. Now you can see this VS Code terminal. You paste the code over here, and then you hit enter to install the Firebase into your app. Okay, now after that, you can see we have some codes over here for our Firebase configuration. What to do is that again, you copy these codes over here, right? You copy the codes here, you copy them. After copying them, you go back to your VS Code, then you come here, right? Now inside here, what you're going to do is that you are going to create a file called Firebase. So you can see I've created a file, my file here called Firebase. So just click on this file button over here, right, and then create a file inside the Facebook clone here. So inside this Facebook clone here, you click this file here to create a file inside this Facebook clone, and then give the name of the file firebase.js or firebase.config.js. okay, now you open this firebase.config.js file. Now inside this Firebase, what you just copied from the Firebase website, you paste it over here. So I'm going to paste it over here, alright? So you paste the configuration over here. Then the last thing you're going to do is you go right here, export. Now this configuration that you just copied is the Firebase config. Now you see export the Firebase config. Alright, so that's the last thing you do. You copy these codes over here, you paste them here, and then you say export them. Alright. So that's what we did. So now we said initialize Firebase. Alright. So we'll be doing this one later. Alright. So after this, the next thing you go next. Alright. So here what you're going to do is that you have to install the Firebase CLI. So again, you copy this code here, you copy it from here, you go back to your VS Code, your terminal here, and then you paste it inside your terminal. Alright. Okay, then you come back and you go to next. So now that we have our Firebase now, to deploy our app, we will come back here and then we continue. So now let's go to the Firebase documentations. I'll be leaving the link to these websites down in the description so you can have access to them. So this is the official Firebase documentations for Expo. That is, if you are using Expo, okay. So when you come here, that is using Firebase for Expo, which we are using here. You can see that we have use Firebase. Alright, so Expo Go, we are using Expo Go. So you can see that we have the same thing. So you come here, install the SDK. So you copy the code over here, you copy from here, npx expo install Firebase. Then go back to your VS Code, right, and then paste the code over here to install the Expo Firebase. Then again, you come back here. Then you can see the config file we just did. Alright, because you have already done this, you can see that they are asking us to initialize the Firebase app. Now we'll go back to initializing it in our login screen. Okay, so you can skip this part. Then you can see configure metro, right? So you come over here to, and then you copy the code from here, npx expo customize metro.config.js. You copy the code over here, then you go to your VS Code, right, and then you paste the code over here. Now after you paste it here and then you hit enter, after you do that, it's going to create this file here, metro.config.js. You can see I have done it already, so you will see this file inside your Facebook clone project. You see it over here. Now after that, you come back. So when you open it, this is what you're going to see something like it. So to update it again, you copy here. So after you create the metro.config.js, you copy everything from here. Okay, then you go back to your VS Code, you open the metro.config.js file here. Alright, you open it over here, and then you're going to paste it in there. So you can see I have mine also in it, and you paste everything over here. Alright, so that's great. Now the next thing we want to do is that we want to authenticate the user, right? So you can see authentication. So you can click on authentication. It's going to take us to the Firebase website, so we can start with our authentication. You can see we have some few stuff over here, right? So this is what you're supposed to have. We've already copied it. We've done our configuration and everything over here, right? So you can. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is that we want the user to sign up. So sign up new users. So you can see we have some codes over here. So again, we're going to copy these codes, and then we'll be taking them to our project in our Facebook clone. So this is one of them for the sign in. Okay, so this is for sign up. So you can see there's a difference between sign in and sign up, right? So the sign up is for the registration screen. Okay, so you sign up to create user with email and password, and then the other one is to sign in. That is to log in, right? To sign in with email and password. So we also copy these two codes. So we are going to use this sign in for the login and use this sign up for the registration screen. So now let's go to our VS Code and then start our coding. We will need to get, so we say port, and we want to get the authentication. So get authentication. Again, we want to sign in. So this is for the login. So we sign in, right? So sign email password. Right, and the last one is the on exchange. Now we are importing all of this from Firebase. You can actually put it from the website, or you can actually type it just as I am doing. So Firebase Auth. Right. And next thing we want to do is I want to initialize the Firebase. So you see import initialize app from Firebase app.
Let's go.
Alright. I'll be explaining this as we go along. And then the last one is the import the config. The Firebase config from Firebase as the Firebase file that we created. Right, the config file, we want to link login screen with the Firebase that we created. So the Firebase config file from the Firebase, remember we created a Firebase file, right? So in here, so the last thing now is to initialize it actually. So initialize this. So initialize Firebase config. Alright. Cool. Alright, so this whole thing is that we want to bring the Firebase into our app. So we are linking it using the Firebase configuration from the Firebase file that we created. Now after we link them, we want to start the Firebase. So when we open the login screen, we want to initialize the Firebase, start using it, alright? So the user can start creating accounts and then logging in and doing all kinds of stuff. So now let's use this inside our code. So inside our login screen, say cons login screen, then navigation. Then we created some email and password over here. Alright. So now let's go to the button that we had. If user presses that button, we want the user to log in. Right? If you remember, we had this thing that when the user presses that button, we should log the user in. Okay. So we say on press. So I'm going to uncomment it here. Alright, then we go to the top here and then we define it. The const login as the login button. So when the user presses that button, the login, this is what's supposed to happen. Okay, so you see const. I want the authentication. Make sure the user is authenticated. Auth. Right, make sure that the user is authenticated. Now we see if user types in an email, okay, the password. If the user types in an email and a password, right, and they are all valid, right, what we want to do is I want to sign in the user.
Let's go.
Sign in. Alright, so we need to sign in. We need to sign the user in with the email and then the password. Right, now we have to pass in this parameter. So we say auth and then email and password. Right, we can say then credentials. These are credentials. And this is just the beginning. I need a big change to feel like living. I need a big swing, home runs I'm hitting, and I'll never look back, moving on till I get it all. And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do anything? Alright, it's a console dot log. Log in with user.email. So all what this code here means is that we want to sign whenever the user enters in a valid email and password, we want to sign that user in. and then the credentials that the user is going to use to sign in, we want to pass that credentials to the user. And then once the user is signed, we want to say that log in with, and the user has logged in with this particular email, right? So now let's assume that, now let's say that there are errors. So we want to catch any errors that may happen in this process. So if there are errors, we want to say we want to catch the errors. Catch errors.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
So what kind of errors do we want to catch? One of the errors is that the user is not found. So if you are actually logging in and then you can't actually find you, right? The email that you're using is actually not found. The error code equals the auth user not found. If you can't find the user, if you are trying to log in and we can't find your account, that's an error, right? So that's something we want to catch. So we have to let the user know that alert we want to say that
Let's go.
wrong
I wake up to a little bit of drool.
email address.
Gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great.
Right,
I don't
and we can also pass another one, so actually let the user know that
pay.
make sure
Change in my life cause I don't feel alive and there's
you
nothing that
have
makes me happy. Hold my beer for a minute.
correct
I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm
email.
going on a trip and I don't plan to visit.
Right, so you can actually let the user know all this.
Like I'm winning all. And this is just the beginning. I need a big change. Help me
That's one of the errors that we want to catch.
swing home runs.
Another error we can also catch is, let's see, we can also catch another error. You see, if user types in the wrong password, okay, you can say that if the user types in a wrong password, so error code equals what wrong password. You're going to let the user say alert wrong password, right?
Yeah, this is my life, my strife, my right to fight, to die on. And this is my game to play, to claim a brand new name. Oh, and I ain't gonna lie to you.
So once you say, make sure you type in,
Everything up that I've ever done.
make sure you have entered
If you ain't having fun, I guess I'll try this, try that.
the correct
Gotta find what I'm good at.
password.
Guess I look here, look there, over
Alright,
am I scared, where am I at?
so that's one of it.
In this life, whatever makes me
And
know I'm doing things right.
if there's any other error aside these two errors, we want to also catch them as well. So say also dot error signing in. There's an error when this user was signing in. Alright, the error message should be an error message today. You can find all these codes on the Firebase website. So if in case you have any issues kind of understanding this. So this one is for if the user entered an email and then a password. Now what if the user doesn't enter an email and a password? The view of this is that we created a button called a login. So this button login here, and we have defined the login on top here. Login. So you can see login. Remember that we created a button called login. So this button, we have the solution on this user presses on this button here, login, right? To execute the login that we have created here. Right. We're saying that this login, if the user enters both their email and password and they are valid, it should sign the user into the app. Right? It should create, so sign in with email and password, and then you should pass in the credentials that the user will enter into the input fields to the user. So user credentials, passing it to the user, and then log in with the user.email. Okay. Now if there are any errors, like if the user is not found, it should indicate it that wrong email address. If there is a wrong password, it should indicate that the password that the user entered is wrong. And then if there's any other errors aside these two, it should let us know that there was an error signing in with the error message. We're also saying that else if the user only enters the email, you should alert the user to enter the password. Now make sure you have imported this alert from React Native. right? So on top here, make sure you have imported the alert from React Native here. Okay, and also if the user only enters the email, right, if the user only enters the password, it should alert the user that enter your email as well. Now if the user doesn't enter both the email and password for the login, you should alert the user that enter both the email and the password. Okay, so if I click login here, you can see you see that enter email and password. All right, sure. So now we can move ahead to the register screen. So on the register screen, you can see we have some test inputs here. The user is supposed to input some fields over here. So for this one, I'm going to copy the code from the website and then paste it inside our VS Code.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do?
Alright, so for the register screen as well, we are going to import the authentication. We're also going to import the create user with email and password. Okay, so we're going now for the register screen, we are going to create the user. Right, we are now creating a user with the email and password. So we come here and I create this function here called create account. Remember, we created a function, we created a button called create account. This is the button here, the button that we created for the create account, right? So if I create the account, is from create account, right? So when the user presses on the button, it's supposed to create an account. So I come to the top here, and inside it, I say that if the password the user will enter is not equal to the confirmed password, it should indicate that the passwords do not match. So I let the user that the passwords do not match, as you can see here. Right, if the two passwords don't match, I let the user that the passwords don't match. Now if the email and then the password too, they are valid, now create the user with email and password and then pass the credentials to the user. It is successfully created an account with the email. Now if there are any errors like the email that the user will enter is an existing email, I let the user that that email already exists or that email is already in use. And if there's another error like the email that the user will input is invalid, let the user know that that email is also invalid, right? And then if there's any other error, we also want to catch that error, so say that error creating account. So if there's any other error in creating the account, we also want to catch that error. And we say else. Now this else is where if the user doesn't input an email and then a password, valid email and a password, or the user fails to fill in these fields over here, we want to tell the user that there's a missing data and then they kindly fill in details in all input fields. So if the user fails to fill in any of the fields here, we want to say that you have to actually input values into those fields. Alright, okay, so now let's go to the website, the Firebase website, where we created our app, and then over here we choose authentication. Now the kind of authentication we want to be using is email and password, just like we've been talking about, right? So you're going to use an email and password. So you see setup sign-in method. So what kind of method are we going to use? We can use the Google sign in with Google. There's another way, and then so you can see some of the additional providers here. We have Google, sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook, or sign in with Play Games, sign in with GitHub, sign in with Yahoo, sign in with Microsoft. But the one we're going to be using is the sign in with the password, right? Sign in with email and password. So you click on that one, then you enable email and password, and then you save. So over here, anytime a user creates an account using the email and password, when I go to the users, I'll be able to see all the users that have created an account using my app. So you can see now we have no users for this project yet. So that any moment that a user creates an account, we come here and then we see that the user has created an account. You can see the details of the user over here, the email and then the email and everything over here, and the user ID. So let's go back to our code here. Now let's move to so this is what we're doing with the register screen, right? So I just explained that one. So now we are actually almost done. What we want to do next is to go back to the login screen and then do what we call a use effect. So now if the user actually presses on that create account or presses on that login, we want to move the user from the login screen to the main screen. So to do that, first you have to make sure that the user is authenticated. So we're going to use something called a listener or a use effect. So with this use effect, what it's going to do is that it's going to listen that anytime a certain user is authenticated, right? Anytime a user is authenticated, you should move that user straight to the login screen, right? So you can type it anywhere. So inside our login screen over here, you can put it here on top of the Create account. We are going to import this use effect. So it's a listener. We're going to listen that user has been authenticated and move that user straight to the login screen. So it's a const then authentication, right? Const auth and then get auth.
And this is my game to play to claim a brand new name. Oh, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm a bit nervous that I might screw.
Then from there we see on auth state. So you can actually copy all these codes from the website, or you can type them just as I am doing. But I want to type them out so that you see everything.
I guess I look here, look there, over where am I scared, where am I at?
And you see user, you pass in the user.
Whatever makes me happy, know I'm doing things right.
Right, you see.
Summer on a goose and Sprite, or find a nightclub for the end of the night. Oh,
You're going to say the user is authenticated. Now the user is authenticated. The user wants to just on that button. We say navigation is main screen. Right. So over here, what we are doing is that, for instance, if you're using Facebook, anytime you open Facebook, you don't have to always log in anytime you open Facebook. Once you log in once, anytime you open the Facebook again, it takes you straight to the main screen, right? So that's the same thing you're using here. So using the use effect, anytime the user kind of on all states changed, right? I think I made a mistake here. So anytime the user wants to open the app, the user doesn't always have to keep logging in anytime the user wants to use the app. So the moment you log in once, anytime you open the app, you go straight to the main screen. So that's what we're going to see. So navigation to replace the login screen with the main screen. So you just have to log in once. Alright. So that's it with the use effect. So now we can actually run it to see how everything. So let me control save. Now remember that we have not created this main screen, right? So let's come here. And then you can see I have a main screen here. So within your screens folder, create a file called main screen. Give it a name, main screen. Alright. Then go to the app.js. Then within your app.js, import the main screen. You see import main screen from, we know where we are importing it from the src folder within the screens folder. Then we say main screen. Right. So we come here and then we start the screen. So we are stacking the screens on top of each other. This here. Then I change the name from register screen to main screen. So as we said before, we want to stack the screens on top. So we have the login screen on top, register screen, and then the main screen beneath it. So over here, we can clear this and then make it main screen. Alright, and you choose here. So within the main screen that we are going to create, you go to the main screen and then we write some codes in there. So you can see that I've already written some codes here. So all what these codes are going to do, they are just going to write that this is the main screen. So I have a save area view and I've styled the save area with justify center and item center. So we're going to put this text in the center of the screen that this is the main screen. Alright. So that will be it for the main screen. So you can actually copy them. It's the same styling we've been doing with the save area view and then the text that this is the main screen. So I'm going to control save. Now I'm going to open the app and then we're going to see how everything works. Effects that we used over here, we have to make sure that the use effects actually exist. So go to the top and then import the use effects.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit.
So you can see we have the use effects over here. So we come here.
I don't wanna go to work cause my boss is a jerk and I'm not even that paid. I need a change in my life cause I don't feel alive and there's nothing that makes me happy. Hold my beer for a minute. I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip and I don't plan to visit. I'm gonna stay there till I feel like I'm winning. Oh, and this is just the beginning. I need a big change, help me feel like living. I need a big swing, home runs I'm hitting, and I'll never look back. Moving on till I get it all. And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it?
Alright, so here I'm going to create an account. Okay, so I'll go to create account. Then with the full name I'm going to type in, let's say, Dennis. With my email, I'm going to use Dennis at email.com.
And this is my game to play, to claim a brand new name. Oh, and I ain't gonna lie to you.
Then my password, I'll use 123 123. Then confirm password 123 123. Now let's mistakenly make it wrong. Let's see. So the passwords, I've made one 123 123, and then this one 123 1234. So you can see that passwords do not match. Okay, now if I go back to this screen, I say I want to log in, enter email and password. And if I enter only the email, right, if I enter only email, and I say login, okay, enter password. And if I enter only the password, and I want to log in, to say enter email. Alright, so let's go back here, and then let's say here I don't want to fill in the fields, and I just say create account. They say missing data, kindly fill in details in all input fields. Alright, so you can see that everything actually works. So now let's do what we are doing.
I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit.
And then I'll enter my email.
Yeah, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to work cause my boss is a jerk and I'm not even that paid.
And then password 123 123 123 123. Right.
I'm going on a trip and I don't plan to visit.
That's a create account.
I feel like I'm winning. Oh, and this is just the beginning.
So this is going to load. It's going to create the account, and then log. You see it has moved me to the main screen. So you can see I have logged in, and you can see on top over here, this is the main screen. So you can see that the use effect, the moment I got authenticated, it moved me straight, it navigated me straight to the main screen, right? So the same thing will happen for the login screen. The moment the user is authenticated and the user presses on the login button, it's going to move the user straight to the main screen. Alright, so let's check our Firebase here, and then you will see that, let me refresh it, and then you see that the user's details will show up over here that the user has actually created an account. So when I refresh it, you will see it over there that a particular user with the user's email will show that the user has created an account. Alright, wonderful. So you can see over here that we have Dennis at gmail.com, right? You can see that I have created an account over here. So anytime a user creates an account, you'll be seeing the users, the identifier, you'll be seeing the users, their providers, the time that they created it, everything over here. Alright friends, so you can see that we actually have been able to implement our Firebase authentication system. Alright friends, so that's it for this episode. See you in the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, I'll party.